Hey guys, this is the Sports Hub. I'm Connor O'Gara. Round 2 of the playoffs going to be underway this weekend. Had a lot of good first round games. 7 teams left in the Hub territory. 4 teams left in the 8-man variety. 3 teams left in the 11-man variety. And we're going to talk about one question that I have about each game in the Hub territory the rest of the way. But before we talk about any of the playoff stuff, we want to talk about some first round performances in 3 stars. First kid, Connor Young. Man, he's been a frequent name that we've talked about on this program, but the kid just absolutely did it all for Cozad in an opening round win against Fort Calhoun. He had 2 touchdown runs, 2 touchdown passes, and a punt return touchdown all in the first half. This was after he fumbled on his first carry of the game. He had a couple plays that I gave him credit for having the play of the first half, I thought, of the season, run against Kearney Catholic. I thought he arguably had 2 plays in this one that could have been plays of the year as well. Just an unbelievable performance by Young. Second star, Billy Smith from Elwood. Kid is one of the many threats that the Pirates have. He had 4 touchdowns, really got involved in the second quarter, had 3 touchdowns in the second quarter alone. Just a kid that took over on the ground and through the air, was able to catch a nice screen pass and get open with some great blocking downfield. Smith is just a guy that the Pirates are going to need so much going forward. Got a big showdown coming up against Sandhill Stedford. Third star we're going to look at, speaking of freak athletes, how about Braden Eckhout? Is there a better athlete in the Hub territory? I don't know. I really don't know. This kid does absolutely everything for Amherst in the passing game. Just had a monster game in an opening round win against Ansley Litchfield. He had 6 catches, 121 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. All 3 of those touchdowns came in the first half. Trey Taubenheim's favorite target through the air. Eckhout, you can just throw it up to him and he's going to go get it for you. Just a kid that we're going to be hearing a lot more from in the years to come. As I mentioned before, we're going to talk about all 7 games in the Hub territory. And I'm going to ask one simple question I have about each individual game. And in Class A, we talked about it last week, Kearney Bearcats getting to host number 1 Omaha North. Everybody's heard about Calvin Strong, the talented South Dakota commit, is just capable of taking over games so easily. And my one question, can the Bearcats be strong? This is a game where you're going to need to stop the run, obviously, and I think more importantly, you're going to have to keep that Omaha North offense off the field. This is a game where Jacob White, Noah Urbanek, definitely Brockton Sterling going to need to all be able to take over on the ground. This is a game where if you control time of possession, you can't obviously have turnovers against a team of Omaha North's quality. You're going to be able to maybe have a closer game. I think the Bearcats are a team that's suited really well to play ahead. They've obviously played so well on that home field this year. Bearcats can maybe get that ground game going, get a one touchdown lead, something like that early on, and just get a little bit of doubt in Omaha North. Maybe this will end up being a close game. Obviously, there's not probably a whole lot of people that are picking the Bearcats for an upset of this one, but the Bearcats are a team that's obviously built to play with some of the best teams in the state. Omaha North, man, going to be a great show. Really excited for that one. Class C1, number 4 Cozad is going to be playing host to number 5 seed Chadron. I already talked about Connor Young's impact earlier. Obviously a kid that can do it all for the Haymakers. And this is my one question is, can someone else besides Young spark Cozad? I say that because Chadron is maybe the best defense in Class C1. They're only allowing 4.3 points per game since its season opener against Sydney, which was a loss. It's a really good Class B school. And really, Chadron has been a team that has been lights out defensively. If they focus in on Connor Young, yeah, easier said than done. Who's going to step up for Cozad? Colin Watovic, Colt Liebhart, is Chase Dugan going to get involved? Who's going to be the alpha dog on that Cozad offense that steps up if they're able to get to Young early, get some pressure on him? Colt Liebhart, Colin Watovic going to have big roles in pass protection if the Haymakers are going to be throwing in this one. This could end up being a lower scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But if Cozad can really get some of that momentum going early, get maybe Chadron in an unfamiliar territory, this could easily turn into a Cozad route just like last week. Number 6 seed Kearney Catholic going to be making the trip to take on number 3 seed Columbus Scotus. My question for the Stars, will high pressure situations pay off? Kearney Catholic comes in having won 5 games by 2 scores or less. Just seems like the Stars have played in a lot of those situations where they haven't necessarily distanced the lead that much against some of the better teams, but at the same time they've held off teams really well. And I think that could be something that could really play into effect in this one if the Stars are able to get a lead early. Who knows? This is a team that has obviously played from ahead, they played from behind, just played in a lot of different scenarios, and this could be a game where they really benefit from that experience, having a senior quarterback in John Masker, Bryce James back healthy in the fold. Big question mark. We don't know at the time this is taping if Nathan Howe is going to be back. there is potential that he could be in action. Who knows how effective he would be if he were to be able to be on the field for the Stars. But just could be a really good game. And if you're the Stars, you can't get caught looking ahead to a potential showdown, a semifinal showdown against Boone Central New and Grove. The Stars would host that one. I think they'd be jacked up for that one if they got to it. Class D1, number 5 seed Elm Creek going to be making the trip north, going to take on number 4 seed Burwell. This is a game where my big question is, what happens if Elm Creek falls behind? This is a game where Burwell, a team that can really score through the air, on the ground, they pass a ton, which is atypical for a D1 team. What happens if the Buffs fall behind? Do they rely on that ground game? Is Jace Doolin still going to be calling Christian Best's number, Sean Thornabar, Nick Crowley? Are they still going to be trying to run it 3 straight downs? What's going to happen in that situation? The one game that the Buffs really fell behind early was that game against Blue Hill. Blue Hill, obviously a team playing really well in the second half. But that was a game where the Buffs just weren't able to get offense going. And it was because maybe they got into a situation that they hadn't been in before where they had to start throwing the ball. Crowley is known better for what he's able to do on the ground than maybe through the air. Is this a game where, you know what, they can open up the playbook, or they're just going to rely on what has got them to this point, which has been that dominant ground game, that 3-headed rushing attack, as good as it gets in D1. And if they can really get a lead early and be able to potentially sustain it on the road, who knows? This is a game where Elm Creek could easily run away with, but that's easier said than done against a really good Burwell offense. Number 7 seed Amherst going to be making the trip to take on number 2 seed Fullerton. This is definitely going to be Amherst's toughest game of the year. My question is, though, will Amherst's new no-huddle offense spark an upset? This could be a game where you look at it going in saying, yeah, Amherst, obviously all that offensive firepower, we talk about it every single week, but maybe a little bit of a different team after what it did last weekend against Ansley Litchfield. Ron Evans just kind of waited for this point in the season to put in something like a no-huddle offense. Offensive mastermind, always looking to press different buttons, says it's so tough to get everybody in that offense touches, and it really is. Could this be a game where, you know what, if Amherst is able to get some of that, get them on their heels a little bit. If they can do that, get the tempo up, this is a game that could easily turn into a 60, 70 point back and forth affair. I'm really interested to see if Amherst's offense can really compete with one of the best offenses, maybe in all of D1 in Fullerton. If Amherst is going to pull off an upset like this, it's going to have to take the game of the year from the Broncos. Moving right along to Class D2, number 5 seed Elwood going to be making the trip to number 4 seed Sandhill Sedford. My question is, will Elwood's improved defense be the difference in this one? Elwood is a team that really did not play well defensively in the early part of the season, gave up a ton of points to Anselmo Myrna, and Kevin Malberg kind of talked about it this past weekend. They got a nice 56-0 opening round win against Loomis, and Malberg said, you know what, the defense has got a little bit more mojo than it had, and that's really, I think, the difference between what this team was maybe 5-6 weeks ago compared to what it is right now. Just a more complete and balanced team. You look at Cole Remenga and John Anderson and guys that are going to need to be all over the field to slow down Sandhill Sedford. This is a team that's got a dual threat quarterback in JC Nutter, a guy that can take over through the air, on the ground. It doesn't really matter. Sandhill Sedford puts up a ton of points. This could turn into a shootout, or it could easily turn into what was the Kennesaw game with Elwood, which turned into kind of a defensive struggle in the second half. So Elwood has a little bit more experience playing in games like that now, but I think this is just going to be a good back and forth battle. If Elwood's offensive threats can really get going like they did against Loomis last week, look out, Pirates could be in for a good one. And last but certainly not least, number 6 seed Bertrand going to be making the trip to take on number 3 seed Maxwell. My question in this one, how in the world does Bertrand slow down Jalen Sturdivant? Kid rushed for 446 yards last week. That's a season for some guys. He had 6 touchdowns in that one. I don't know how in the world Bertrand is going to drop a game plan to slow him down. They obviously need Terrell Younger to be back and healthy. He left last week's game with a hip issue. He's going to need to be at full strength. He's going to have one of those 20 tackle type games, and it's going to have to be a team effort defensively. You look at what Bertrand is going to try and bring to the table. They obviously want to be able to establish that ground game with Younger, with Joey Colfax, get Jake Samuelson involved too. And they need to somehow keep him off the field. if they can keep Sturdivant off the field, maybe he doesn't get into the rhythm that he's used to getting in. This is just such a high volume guy. Nobody has had the recipe to be able to slow him down. If Bertand wants to somehow pull off an upset, it's going to have to start and end with slowing down Sturdivant. I say it every week, but if you're not following us on Twitter already, you probably should be. Follow all of us. We are going to be at games on Wednesday night. We're going to be at games on Friday night. The 11-man games on Friday night, the 8-man games are on Wednesday night. Just exciting action coming up in the Hub territory. Who pulls off road upsets? Is Kearney High able to somehow be able to stick with a team like Omaha North? We got just storylines galore moving forward. I'm really excited to see the way that these all play out. Who's going to be able to advance to a semifinal game, quarterfinal game? It's going to be really interesting to see. We're going to have all that coverage for you. Make sure you're checking in on the Kearney Hub website as well. We're going to have plenty of game stories. We're going to have updates from everybody in the area, game stories from every playoff game in the Hub territory. So for Conor O'Gara, this has been the Sports Hub. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.